And he said, I'm probably going to lose my job. You know, hopefully it's nothing worse, but I may lose my job. He said, well, I don't want you to lose your job. You're a good guy. You know, you're one of the few real good ones in here. I don't want you to lose your job. I said, let me tell you what you're going to do. I got a plan. When you lock up at night, leave the door open. Make it look like it's closed, but leave the door open. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a couple of inmates that I know, and they're going to make like they jimmied the lock or they busted the lock open, and they're going to steal it blind. They're going to rob everything in there. Rob everything. And when that happens, when you come in the next day, hey, what happened? They broke the door down. They stole. The accounting has to be off now because the inventory is off. They're going to blame the inmates. They're going to lock us down for a couple of days, and then everything's going to be okay. He said, yeah, Mike, you think you can pull that off? I said, no problem. I said, leave it to me. It's done. Hello everybody, welcome to another sit down with Michael Franzese, and you guessed it, I am Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. What are we going to talk about today? You know, I get so many questions about prison. People are fascinated with prison. They want to know prison stories, what my views are on prison. Well, you know, I can almost consider myself an expert on prison. I've either been in prison or visiting prison for my entire life. You know, visiting my father from the time I was a kid. I spent 8 years in prison myself. Now I have a prison ministry where I go in and I counsel young people and even older adults, inmates that are doing time. So I know a lot about prison, I can tell you that. And interestingly enough, a couple of years back on 9/11, I was asked by the chaplain of the Senate, United States Senate, Chaplain Black, wonderful guy, strong man of God, you know, came up from the streets, great guy. He asked me to come and speak to a lot of the Senate staff, and some of the senators sent in too. Very, very interesting, and they asked me my ideas on prison and prison reform and so on and so forth. Obviously, I'm into prison reform. And I told them, I said, I don't agree with the current incarceration policies in the Bureau of Prisons. I did most all of my time in the federal system. I said, I strongly believe in rehabilitation. I do believe also that they give far too much time for nonviolent crimes here in America, especially for financial crimes, far too much time. And they really need to work on reforming the system in that regard. And I also said something to some of the senators that I think I made sense. I said, look, when you send somebody to prison, the fact that they're in prison, that's the punishment. And I know it's prison sentence is punishment. Well, being in prison is the punishment. You don't have to punish them further by having them in there. They're in there, they're away from their families, their freedom is taken away, our freedom is taken away. That's enough punishment. In there, you should now be rehabilitating them in some ways, because it's only sensible to do that. How do you put people in prison that are around every other person that got caught for some kind of criminal activity? They're speaking with these people every day. You're not rehabilitating them, and you expect them then to learn something, come out, and become productive members of society. Doesn't make sense. You need to rehabilitate them in there. Give them something to look for when they get out. A job skill, an education, something that they can look for when they get out of prison so that they don't, the recidivism rate goes down, they don't commit crimes again, and they get out, they're a productive member of society. When you do that, you're benefiting all of society. So these inmates don't come out and wreak havoc again. That's my opinion. Very, very briefly, I'd love to get into it a little bit more. I do support what our president is doing today in prison reform. So that's that. Now for some prison stories. You know, look, I spent a lot of time in there. I can give you some pretty dark stories, but I'm going to talk to you about a few today that were maybe a little bit on the lighter side. When I was in Terminal Island, California, it's in San Pedro. I did a lot of my federal time there back in the 80s. And, every once in a while, there's some guards there that you get a little bit more friendly with. My attitude in there, I was never really arrogant to the guards. They got their job to do. Some of them are really nice and they treat you like men. Others, they got a little bit of an issue with you and they treat you a little bit differently. A lot of them are brainwashed. They're told that, inmates are all bad people. So you got different kind of guards in there. Correctional officers, they're called. There's one, and I got along with many of them, but there was one in particular, and I liked him a lot, and he liked me a lot. And so I used to watch him, and I used to see that sometimes he got a little bit too friendly with some of the inmates, and I knew that maybe they were using him, maybe bringing some contraband in. And I used to tell him, look, I don't want, just be careful with who you deal with here. You're a nice guy. You don't want to lose your job. Be careful how you do things. So we had that kind of a relationship, Well, one day he comes to me. He was the CO in charge of the commissary. The commissary is where the inmates go to buy, foods and stuff, and sometimes sneakers and things that they need, toiletries, all of that kind of stuff, right? So he comes to me and he says, Mike, I got to talk to you. And I said, what's up? He said, I'm in trouble. I said, what happened? He said, my accounting is all off at the commissary. The books are off. He said, and I got to turn it in. They're going to find out, the warden, whoever was the supervisor at that time. He says, I'm going to be in trouble. And he said, I'm probably going to lose my job. Hopefully it's nothing worse, but I may lose my job. He said, well, I don't want you to lose your job. You're a good guy. You're one of the few real good ones in here. I don't want you to lose your job. I said, let me tell you what you're going to do. I got a plan. I said, but you can't do this on a visiting day. You got to do this on a Sunday night because Monday and Tuesday there's no visiting. Do it on a Sunday. Okay, what are you talking about? Here's what I want you to do. When you lock up at night, leave the door open. Make it look like it's closed, but leave the door open. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a couple of inmates that I know, and they're going to make like they jimmied the lock or they busted the lock open, and they opened the commissary, and they went in there, and they're going to steal it blind. They're going to rob everything in there. Rob everything. And when that happens, when you come in the next day, hey, what happened? They broke the door down. The accounting has to be off now because the inventory is off. They're going to blame the inmates. They're going to lock us down for a couple of days. That's why I want you to do it on a Monday and Tuesday. We have no visits. I don't want to lose my visit. I says, and then everything's going to be okay. He said, yeah, Mike, you think you can pull that off? I said, no problem. I said, leave it to me. It's done. I said, just make sure that there's no other COs around. I'm going to send them in. You tell me what time to send them. I'll send them in, before count that night. We'll clean it out. No problem. Great. So I get a hold of these two guys that I know I could trust. I tell them what's going on. They're all excited about it. They said, Mike, you sure we're not going to get in trouble? I said, I think I got this all covered. I said, hey, you want to take the shot? I can't guarantee anything, but it's up to you. I said, if you go in there, you got your run of the place, do whatever you want. They said, okay, we agree. I said, but here's the deal. Don't bring anything to my cell. I don't want anything because they're going to do a shakedown. They're going to look through everything. I said, I don't want to get caught with any contraband or anything from the... Don't bring anything to me. Have a ball. Do whatever the heck you want with it. Just leave me out of it. Got it. Boom. That's what happens. Sunday night, he walks out. Guys go there. Boom. I don't know what they did, whether they hammered it, whatever they did. They jimmied the door open. They cleaned it out. Cleaned it out. Everything you could imagine they pulled out. Enough to cover the guy on whatever his accounting and inventory problem was. Saved his job. They came in, the cops didn't believe me. Then Monday and Tuesday, they locked us all down. They shook everybody's cell down. They're going to do this and that and that. I don't even think anybody got in trouble for it. I said, that's how good it was. Because they didn't have cameras over there at that time. Anyway, so that was one thing, gave that guy a reprieve. But here's what happened to him later on. I warned him, but he didn't listen because, you gotta watch some of the inmates in there. He got caught bringing contraband into the prison, and some of the inmates gave him up. And he ended up getting, not only did he get fired, he got indicted. I believe he got 3 years in prison. Poor guy, just trying to do a couple of, who knows what they were paying him. But you can't trust all the inmates in there. I'll tell you another story. All that mattered to me when I was in prison, I wanted my visits and my phone calls because I wanted to maintain contact and be in touch with my family so I wouldn't lose my family. Because back when my father was in prison, back in the 70s, they only had one 3-minute phone call a month and one visit a month when he was in Leavenworth, Kansas, back in the early 70s. You know, you lose control of your family. As a result, my father wasn't a major presence because we didn't have contact with him. And when you lose contact, you lose your family. It's terrible. And it was very disruptive in my family, disruptive to my mom and dad's relationship. He didn't have a real relationship with my younger brother and sisters growing up. It's tough. So all I cared about was my visits and my phone calls. I didn't want anything to disrupt that. So they had a point system in the federal system for your visits. 1 point was 1 hour during the week, and on the weekends, 1 hour was 2 points. And you had about 50 points, if I remember, and it went real fast to people that had a lot of visits. And I had a lot of visits. My wife lived only 45 minutes away, and so she used to come a lot, and the points go like this. So I got a hold of one of the COs, another one that liked me, was in the visiting office. It was a woman. She was a supervisor. And she liked me, and I said, look, do me a favor. I said, you know, my wife comes, visits, you know, is very respectful. I want to see my kids, maintain that relationship. I said, you know, give me a break on the points if you can. She said, don't worry about it, Mike. So I used to go in there, and believe me, I had the run of visiting, whatever I want. You know, you got to maneuver in prison. You got to do what you got to do to try to get a little bit more conveniences. It's important, right? So that's going great. I get a call from the lieutenant. Come to the office. I go to the lieutenant, another guy. Fortunately, he liked me. Now, I'm not saying everybody liked me. There was some COs in there that, you know, because I was a mob guy and had a reputation, they didn't like me at all. But, you know, you move around, you get a few that you can work with. So he says to me, Mike, he says, what's going on with your visits? I said, Lieutenant, what do you mean? He says, I want to tell you this. You know how the inmates used to snitch you out in there? They'd put a note under the lieutenant's door. That's how they'd snitch you out. He said, I'm getting more notes on you that you're getting more visits than everybody else. Do you know that some of these inmates were actually counting my visit points and then reporting me? That's what you got to deal with in there. So got to be very careful, got to keep to yourself, got to watch who's around you. I already told in another video 3 words that help you through prison. Please, thank you, excuse me. Told you everybody in there wants respect they didn't have out on the street. You know, things like that. Tough place. That's why I say, you know, I know people get upset that, you know, criminals commit criminal acts, and I've said this before. Everybody in prison isn't a bad person. They might have made a mistake. Sometimes there were first-timers in there. First time they ever made a mistake, they did some heavy time as a result. They're not bad people. You know, they made mistakes. They're suffering the consequences. Being in prison is enough. You're suffering those consequences. But it's tough, and I think we definitely need prison reform in the United States. There's just a lot that has to be done. And again, I support our president or any president that's willing to do that. You know, people ask me about my time in the hole. I'm going to lay this on you. I spent 29 months and 7 days in solitary, 6x8 or 6x10 cell, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not easy. I don't care what anybody tells you, anyone wants to be a hero. That's not easy. I learned through that experience we were not meant to be solo creatures. We were meant to be social creatures rather. Very, very difficult. Those lights go out at night. I heard a lot of moaning and groaning. I saw a lot of stuff in there. A lot of people don't handle it well. For me, I was very fortunate. I'm going to be honest with all of you, whether you like to hear it or not. My faith was really strengthened during my time in solitary. Yes, I turned to God. I turned to a God what I believe was intelligently, and what I mean by that is I read my Bible inside out and upside down more times than you can imagine. You see my prison Bible, there's more notes on there than there is scripture. I had my wife send me in hundreds of books on every faith, because I was really in a search for the truth. Now, I'm not imposing anything on you, but I'm telling you that for me, you know, the Christian faith really worked based upon the evidence that I found to be very, very clear. So that's how I use my time, you know, by strengthening my faith, by really doing a search. I don't recommend, for those of you that might be, you know, I got a lot of people ask me about my faith. I don't recommend that you go to prison, but I do recommend that you nurture your faith, you absorb as much information about it as you possibly can, and God and the Holy Spirit will do the rest. And I also read a lot. I read more books in the whole than you can imagine. I read fiction, I read Dean Koontz, I read, all these crazy books. I like biographies. I like true books, better than fiction. But I read everything. That's how you keep your sanity. I had a Sony Walkman. Every day I'd listen to the Sony Walkman to keep in contact with the outside world. I found out who a very good friend of mine now, Pastor Greg Laurie. I listened to him. He helped me with my faith during that time. A lot of things happened in the whole. You got to keep yourself stimulated, keep your mind going. So that's really about all I can tell you. I think I told you what happened, when I got out of the hole, how I got out of the hole, and we're not going to get into that again. But that's it for today. Again, thank you for those of you that are subscribing, getting the alerts. We got a lot of good stuff coming up, interviews, everything else coming up soon. For those of you that are in my crew, we're building now. We're over 4,000 people in the crew. All of you encouraging one another. It's a great, 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 great place to be in. I'm telling you, I'm so thrilled with the way people are just lifting each other up, encouraging each other. My inner circle, we got a lot of communication, a lot of content that we're putting in there. We're working, my team and I are working, 8-10 hours a day to provide this information for you in these platforms. So let's continue on. Everything else I hope is good in your life. This pandemic, I hope, is coming to an end. I know we're into the fall season already. Pretty soon it's gonna be fall. I think the 21st of September. So things are moving along. Kids are hopefully going back to school in some places in the country. And that's it. Gonna leave you with that. So be safe, be good, be healthy, and God bless.